Welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to now 500,000 subscribers. We passed the first stage. Now we have to go to the next 500,000 subscribers. So please hit subscribe, watch, comment. Comments are needed, and share with your friends because, again, every single day, every single time there's a press conference, there's chaos. I mean, it's really hard to keep track of all of these pressers, where yesterday Trump, from the Oval Office, again, decided that they were going to have another conference. Now, the first clip that I want to show you is President Trump being asked if he trusts Putin. I mean, this is obviously an important issue. It's one that Trump ran on, which is that he was going to stop all wars, including within 24 hours. He was going to put an end to the Russia-Ukraine war. Play the clip.
I believe he wants peace. I believe that President Putin, when I spoke to him yesterday, I mean, I know him very well. Yeah, I think he wants peace. I think he would tell me if he didn't. I'd like to see peace.
Do you trust President Putin?
I believe that, I believe that he would like to see something happen. I trust him on this subject. I think he'd like to see something happen. I think it could have happened a long time ago. I think Biden, number one, it shouldn't have started, but it did. And now all those cities are knocked down like demolition sites. All those beautiful golden towers are knocked down. There's nothing going to replace them. But much more importantly, you lost millions of people. A lot of soldiers, but you lost millions of people. When they knocked down those cities and they're all laying down on the side, they're laying down just in ashes and all crumbled up concrete. They literally look like a world-class demolition site. And many of them, almost all of them, but many of them. And this should have been done by Biden years ago. This should have never been allowed to happen.
Yeah. Let me turn around. When he says that I'm aware that, that there are things that Putin wants to do. Yes, that's true. Question then, follow-up should be, well, what are those things that he wants to do? We all know what he wants. He wants to take over Ukraine. And after Ukraine, he wants to take over Poland. And he wants to rebuild the former Soviet Union. I mean, that has to be obvious to everybody. Otherwise, if you want peace, if he believes that he can get peace, well, Trump, it's very simple. Your friends, call your friend up and tell him, hey, get out of there, right? Pack up all your shit and leave. Instead, blaming the Biden administration, blaming everybody else. Don't blame Biden. Blame Putin for invading Ukraine. I mean, Trump then goes on and says that Russia should be allowed back into the G7, which now, of course, elevates Putin in the eyes of not just Russia and the Russian people, but the world. The other G7 members. Play the clip.
High-level people from Russia, from Ukraine, and from the United States.
Do you want to have Russia back to the G7, sir?
I'd love to have them back. I think it was a mistake to throw them out. Look, it's not a question of liking Russia or not liking Russia. It was the G8. And I said, what are you doing? You guys, all you talk about is Russia, and they should be sitting at the table. I think Putin would love to be back. Obama and a couple of other people made a mistake and they got Russia out. It's very possible that if that was the G8, you wouldn't have had the problem with Ukraine. And if I was president, you definitely wouldn't have had the problem with Ukraine. Russia would have never attacked Ukraine. But you ask a very good question, the G8. It used to be the G8 and then these people threw them out. And I was arguing with Trudeau and with numerous of the people. Actually, Prime Minister Abe, a great man from Japan, agreed with me 100%, and some of the others did too. But I got there, it was the G7, as you know. They had already been terminated. I think it would have been very helpful, and it still would be helpful to have Russia be a part of that mix. And I think if they were, I don't think you would have had the problem that you have right now.
Russia is part of the G20. They kicked them out, of course, because they illegally annexed Crimea. I mean, how would you have responded if Russia invaded or took over?
They took Crimea during Obama. 2014. They took, well, now they're looking to take the whole thing. Then they took a big chunk of land and people, as you know, during Bush. And now they're trying to take the whole thing during Biden. You know, the only one that didn't give them anything is Trump. They never took anything with Trump, nothing, not 2 inches of property of land. But Crimea was...
Let me be very clear about something, too. For 4 years, from 2017 all the way through 2020, Trump could have easily brought them back into the G8. I mean, so Abe of Japan and everybody, a few others, all agreed with him that Russia should not have been expelled from the G8. So during your term as president, why didn't you put him back in? And what do you mean that there was not an inch worth of land? They still contained parts of Crimea. So, yeah, maybe they took it before, but you certainly didn't give it back to Ukraine now, did you? I mean, again, I'm not sure where he's even going with this. They then go on and they talked about tariffs. Again, we're going right back to that issue of tariffs. And Trump says that they could make other countries stronger as well as a result of the imposition of these tariffs. Exactly opposite of what 27 of 29 top economists are saying. Play the clip.
That's the way it is.
What's the message from Wall Street about these tariffs? So there's been some nervousness on Wall Street about the impact.
So. I mean, there hasn't been very much, and I think it's going to make the United States stronger, and in many ways it could make other countries stronger too. You know, other countries want to have a strong United States. They want to have a strong America, and I think it's going to make us very, very strong, much stronger. And we have a lot of work we're doing on the military. Our military already, I've authorized some contracts to be built that are very substantial. We're building the greatest equipment in the world. We have the greatest military equipment in the world. We're building it.
Right. So what are we going to do? We're going to add to the already almost $900 billion agency, the department that has more money than pretty much almost every other department combined. A reporter then goes on and asks President Trump if he was going to actually study the impact of tariffs. Here's his response. Play the clip.
Reciprocal tariffs. Would you also direct agencies to study the impact they would have on prices in the U.S.?
No, there's nothing to study. There's nothing to study. It's going to go well. You know, the United States is going to become a very, very strong economically country. Yeah.
Amazing. We don't need a study. I'm just telling you that it's going to be great. And again, almost every single economist so far has said the exact opposite. Now, Trump, on top of everything, still seemingly just refuses to let the 2020 election go. And he can't stop talking and calling it the rigged election theory. Play that clip.
We had then called China, and China was very open to it. And then COVID hit, and then we had a rigged election. But now there was no rigged election. Now we have an election that was too big to rig. That's what my whole theme was, too big to rig. And they tried, but they didn't pull it off.
Sir, as part of the...
Again, not true. Trump today seems very upset at Mitch McConnell. And why? Well, it goes right back to where we started this episode. Because Mitch McConnell voted against Trump's nomination for RFK Jr. and others. So he decides to take a stab at the guy. He decides to take a stab at McConnell's polio. Play the clip.
Mitch endorsed me, right?
Well, he did.
You think that was easy? What?
He had polio, obviously, and his.
I don't know. I don't know anything about he had polio. He had polio.
Are you doubting that he had polio?
I have no idea if he had polio. All I can tell you about him is that he shouldn't have been leader. He knows that. He voted against Bobby. He votes against almost everything now. He's a very bitter guy, and we have a very strong party, and he's almost not even really a very powerful member. I'd say he's not a power. He's lost his power, and it's affected his vote. And, it's one of those things. But in the meantime, Bobby did great, got more votes than anybody thought. And I think he's going to do phenomenally, just phenomenally in that position.
Again, take a swipe at the guy. He's not sure. So, yeah, because everybody just brags about, yeah, hey, I had polio as a kid. Yay, put me into some special column. It's not like you're bragging that you were a homecoming king. I mean, yay, I had polio? Seriously? He then goes on and says that he feels sorry for Mitch. Play that clip.
As the next health secretary, citing conspiracy theories. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I feel sorry for Mitch. And I was one of the people that he wanted to go to the end and he wanted to stay leader. He's not equipped mentally. He wasn't equipped 10 years ago mentally, in my opinion. He'd let the Republican Party go to hell. If I didn't come along, the Republican Party wouldn't even exist right now. Mitch McConnell never really had it. He had an ability to raise money because of his position as leader, which anybody could do. You could do it even, and that's saying a lot. But the fact is that he raised money and he gave a lot of money to senators, and so he had a little loyalty based on the fact that as leader you could raise a lot of money. Senators would call me and they say, he wants to give me 20, 25 million. Can I take it? I'd say, take the money. Take the money. But he engendered a certain amount of, I don't even call it loyalty. He was able to get votes. But I was the one that got him to drop out of the leadership position, so he can't love me. But he's not voting against Bobby. He's voting against me, but that's all right. He endorsed me. Do you know that Mitch endorsed me, right? Well, he did. You think that was easy? What?
You know what they say about narcissists? Everything is about them, right? You're talking, he wasn't voting against RFK. He wasn't voting against a guy who has come out and stated emphatically that the polio vaccine is more detrimental to individuals' health than the benefit it causes. And as a polio survivor, he knows differently. And he listens to the statements that RFK is making about vaccinations and studies and so on. And as somebody who lived through an experience, brought that experience to his vote. But not for Trump. So he has to be about him. Trump then goes on, he even takes a stab at CNN. I don't mind that one. Play the clip.
I know he's a friend of yours.
But couldn't Putin just withdraw his
He's a friend of
today?
CNN. That's why nobody watches CNN anymore, because they have no credibility. Okay, who else?
No, they just watch Fox News. They watch Laura Ingraham. They watch Sean Hannity, right? Because they have credibility. And finally, Trump speaks about Taiwan and the chip business. Play that clip.
Country, in all due respect, they took the business away. Taiwan took our chip business away. We had Intel, we had these great companies that did so well, and it was taken from us, and we want that business back. We want it back in the United States, and if they don't bring it back, we're not going to be very happy.
You
Sir,
mentioned
on tariffs,
pharmaceuticals as well in China. That's national security to bring that back.
China and other places, we want to get the pharmaceutical and drug business back into the United States, where it should be.
By the way, I agree with him completely. Bring the chip business back, bring the pharmaceutical. You know that not a single antibiotic is actually made in the United States of America. When we were dealing with the anthrax issue, all of the antibiotic in order to deal with that condition is manufactured in Mexico. And that was around the time that Trump was calling Mexicans murderers, rapists, drugs dealers. But don't worry, there are a few that are good people. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to get my drugs from a country that the presidential candidate or the president himself at the time is berating and denigrating. I'm with Trump 100% on that. Let's bring all that business back. Unfortunately, it takes time to manufacture a facility in order to create these chips. Not to mention you have to have the raw materials for it too, something he also doesn't discuss. That's why we need this type of a program. We need this community. We need to share ideas, raw, unfiltered facts. And with that, I say, as always, thanks for listening. Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. We're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.